Bulls may have walked away with the win yesterday, but Vuch walked away with some smoke from Bulls fans that think that maybe it was the right message, but the wrong messenger. We're going to talk about that and Vuch calling out the team for their soft play. Billy Donovan also doubled down on it as well. So today we're going to be breaking down Vuch's comments and the validity of that. We're also going to be looking at things to watch for. And as the Bulls now cross the almost quarter-way mark through the season, we're going to take a look at things to watch going forward as the Bulls are getting more players healthy. All that plus some mailbag right after this. What's going on, Bulls fans? Welcome to another episode of Chicago Bulls Central, your number one spot for everything Chicago Bulls related. I'm the host there, Haize, but more importantly, you guys can follow the channel at Bulls Central Pod on every social media platform we happen to be on. With that said, let's go ahead and get into this content today, y'all. And Nikola Vucevic talked about the Bulls win afterwards. Basically immediately after leaving the court. It wasn't even an official post-game presser. When he was walking off the court, and he talked about the Chicago Bulls team and, them playing pretty soft. And he said this.
Vuch, you guys saved your best for last. What changed in that fourth quarter?
We finally started playing, for 3 quarters, whatever. We were very soft, gave no resistance. Move, man. We gave no resistance.
Come on, be happy, man.
We gave no resistance. We didn't do anything that we talked about. Just play really soft. It was really bad. And then we played a little bit in the fourth, but obviously we're happy we won, but it's we can't keep doing this. It's not sustainable. We have to be better.
Now, there have been some people that I've seen that have said, hey, it's good to see a veteran step up and talk about what Vuch talked about and mention the fact that what they're playing and how they're playing is not sustainable. And I feel where he's coming from with that, right? There are some fans that look at this and say, was it the right message but the wrong messenger, considering their views on Nikola Vucevic and honestly how he's played over a stretch, even though over the last few games it's been getting better for Nikola Vucevic. But a lot of people look at Vuch just a few games ago almost wasn't playable in some games, right down the stretch of games. Like, he actively hurt us, and we talked about it here and broke down his on-off court numbers and those type of things. But then you look at the last 5 games for Vuch, and he's averaging 18 points. 9 rebounds. He's doing it on 46% shooting and 36% from 3. Not necessarily the best overall, right, from Nikola Vucevic, but when you look at the game by games, he has gotten better, right? He had that stretch where he was averaging like 12 points of inefficient shooting, and it was definitely hurting the Chicago Bulls. That was about a 4 or 5 game stretch that we had that from Vuch. And then even in the game against Miami, where he had 6 points, I believe, in that game, if I'm not mistaken. So it's been an up and down nature of Nikola Vucevic, right? And, we'll talk a little bit about how that's going to affect the Bulls over the rest of the season. But I'll say this, the message that he said wasn't wrong. This Bulls team does play soft. This Bulls team doesn't do, I'm sure, what the things, and as much as I criticize coaching, people criticize coaching, I've said it many times. You can have the best game plan, but if the players don't execute the game plan right, it's going to all look like shit regardless. I'm not saying that Billy Donovan has the best game plan, but I am saying that I look at these players' performances and it's clear to see what they're settling early in the shot clock. They're taking bad shots. And I just refuse to believe that Billy Donovan's drawing up a shot where you're supposed to take a off-balance 3 with 21 seconds left on the shot clock. I just refuse to believe that, right? But again, adjustments, all those type of things. Billy does have his problems and issues as well, right? And then the fact that Billy Donovan also agreed with Nikola Vucevic in his post-game press conference. Hey, to Vuch's point, it's not sustainable to play half. It's just not. So this is the same thing that we've seen. And it's the same thing that us Bulls fans have been talking about. This team is yet to be a 4-quarter team, meaning that they play for a full 4 quarters. It's like they almost got to get slapped around to then wake up and play better. Unless the bench comes in the game and completely dictates and changes the energy. It's been something that's been evident for this Bulls team literally since the start of this season. And therefore, like I said, also, like, it all, to me, kind of everything goes back to coaching. Even if Billy Donovan is drawing up the best plays and this team isn't executing it, why is your voice not in the back of their minds when they fuck up, like, oh, let me get this shit together, or Billy's going to bench my ass, or Billy's going to cut my minutes, or whatever it is? The only people who should be threatened or feel like they have that their spot isn't secure should not just be the back end of the bench guys. It shouldn't just be Dalen Terry, Julian Phillips, and Patrick Williams, who minutes can get cut by playing bad. If you want to build that into the culture of your team, everybody has to be held to the same standard. Now, yes, some players are going to get a little bit more leeway to work themselves out of a cold stretch. That's why you have starters. That's why you have bench players. So I'm not going to act like there aren't going to be starters aren't going to have a little bit more of a runway there, right? But the fact of the matter is that when you see players and one of your best and most veteran players be the one that has slacked off at times, be the one to call the team out, but also be the one to not get his minutes cut, it'd be different if Vuch had got his minutes cut. Let's just say he had to sit the fourth quarter of a game or two, right? And then he comes out here after playing better, and he's like, listen, we got to play better as a team. I had to go through it. We got to go through it. We're not going to win these games. I had to realize that myself. Something like that would have been taken a little bit better. Yeah, it's semantics, but I do think things like that are kind of easier for kind of more of the general fan base to swallow at times. But at the end of the day, the expectation of this team is not being lived up to, or it's not being set correctly, and then people aren't being held accountable to that standard. There's something that's going on in there that we got to fix and get together if we really want to be this team that can win some games and compete to avoid the play-in this season. And I guess we'll see if the Bulls team can pull it together and do it. So, hey, it's all going to be told out there on the basketball court, and that's the most important thing. But moving on from that, right, we talked about that. I do want to talk about, what are some things that we do need to look for? Of course, you talk about the soft play that the Bulls have had, and this was a team that talked about toughness and physicality all season, all throughout training camp. And through the first 7-8 games, it looked like this was a team that was going to be more physical, that was going to be more intentional as far as getting out on the defensive side, trying to draw charges, those type of things. But now it's like the moment, and this has always been one of my concerns under the Billy Donovan era with Chicago, is that we do things, right, or we change some things, and then when we face some adversity, we almost go default back to what happened before, right? So the more natural way that we were playing and not being as physical. And it seems like that's what the Bulls have done. They went through that 5-game losing streak, and while we've had some wins coming out of that, make no mistake about that, we haven't quite recaptured that same toughness, that same identity on either side of the ball. We're settling for bad shots. We're not pushing it to the rim as much as we were at the start of the season. And, so much of that being 3-point shots, it doesn't feel like we've been playing as connected. We're still one of the highest teams in assist percentage because we do still move the ball around, but that doesn't feel as connected. It was almost more fluid early in the season, right? I get it. We've had injuries. Io's been in and out of the lineup at times. Josh Giddey's had his times of being in and out of the lineup. And so all of that stuff, it does affect kind of that connectivity. Trey Jones missed some times. You're incorporating Coby White back, like Vuch, fell off, and he's a big part of the passing in that part too. So, I get the reasons why it happened, but we got to figure out how to get it back together and get it back reconnected. So that's one of the things, right? And with that, I want to look at this as well. Do the starters find better energy with Coby White back in the starting line, right? And I'm not putting that all on Coby White. I'm just saying that with the slow starts being a thing that's evident for this team, do we start seeing with the extra additional scoring out there and that Coby provides, and he's come back in and been a pretty good setup man with the assist as well since he's come back, do we find better energy to start and finish games in a lot of ways? The Bulls slow starts have been so evident, so loud for this team, and so we got to see that, and then how the Josh Giddey and Coby White connectivity comes back, right? Through what we've seen so far, looks like they are still pretty well connected. That chemistry is still there. That's going to be the backbone of the offense. But we really got to look at, can we find that better energy to start off games? Because that's been such a detriment. Even in yesterday's game, even though we finished the first quarter only down by 1, there was a period of time where we were down by like 8 or 9 early in that game. And then the Wizards end up holding on to the lead for the majority of the game. The Bulls do hold on to win. So we got to find that better energy. And do we find that better balance with Coby White? The easier shots that it gets Isaac Okoro and Modest Buzelis, does that help add to the flow and maybe avoid some of that? The added spacing, even though Coby hasn't shot the 3 ball all that well quite yet, there's a better spacing help with that, right? So those are things that we're looking for there. And then how many games of good Vuch versus bad Vuch do we continue to get? What's the balance there, right? Vuch is at the place now where I think we can identify games on the roster where Vuch is just not going to have the advantage, right? Where there's going to be a bad matchup because of the athletic bigs or whatever they have, right? Or at least expect it. Now, if he can come into that and surprise us, then great. And so I really want to look at that. Like, He started off the season very hot, fell off very badly. He's been picking it back up here over the last few games, but how many over the rest of the season, good versus bad Nikola Vucevic games do we really get this season? I think that's an important thing to look at as well. And then Billy Donovan's coaching. We got to see, like, Billy Donovan's lack of adjustments at times is bad. Is not really reading, and like, it started off the season, it really felt like he had a really good touch on that rotation. Who to have out there, who to have them out there with, when to put them out there, when to bring them back on. And then again, like we talked about, adversity face, and then we saw it tense up and kind of default back to what we've seen before. But we got to see if Billy Donovan can rediscover that, especially with players getting more healthy, right? He did talk about before yesterday's game that, hey, we're going to see more double big lineups once Zach Collins comes back, because Jalen has played in a way to where he still needs some minutes. And I think that's a good recognition by Billy Donovan, because we've seen way too often, a player is playing good and then, they end up falling back out of the rotation. So it's good that Billy Donovan's like, hey, we'll see some double bigs once Zach Collins is back so we can maximize on how these players are playing. I think that's really good, right? And then the last thing, how much do the Bulls bench continue to hold up to the standard, right? We have one of the best benches in the NBA per defensive rating, per scoring, right? So when you have that balance there, that's become an important part of this Bulls roster and this Bulls success when we do have it. And the thing that I'm looking forward to is, like, now with Trey Jones going back to the bench, us eventually getting Zach Collins back. Io's been on the tear that he's been on, right? What happens with that? And how does that continue to work out for this Bulls team? And if we see how we see that develop, could be a big telling part about how and how well this season goes. So we shall see. But let me know your guys's. A quarter of the way through, we're actually about 4 games away from being at the quarter mark, but almost a quarter of the way through the NBA season. What are some of the questions now with players coming back and the Bulls kind of getting more close to their actual lineup? What are some of the questions you have that you're looking out for this team? Let me know that down below. With that said, it is Sunday. That means it is a mailbag day. Let's go ahead and get into these voicemails, man. This one's from Los.
CEO Haize, what is up? This is Los. I'm calling in after the Bulls' victory over the Washington team. It was not pretty. We will take an ugly win, though, over a pretty loss any day. And something occurred to me the other day when the Bulls won. What happened to your C-Red winning outro? I thought, wait a minute, I haven't heard that in a while. I don't know how and when I missed that, but I did. I don't know if you announced that you would retire that or get something else, do something else for a victory, but I missed that winning outro. But 2 things I wanted to mention. All these crazy scenarios. Trade Vuch and get this player. Trade Vuch and get that player. Why would a team give up their best player for somebody you don't want? And every time someone comes with those crazy trade scenarios, I ask them, would you do it? Take your best player on the Bulls team. Would you give up that person and get someone that you don't want? So why would the other team do it? You got to stop that. The other day you made a good point how the Eastern Conference is wide open. And I'm looking as of now, I think there's one more game being played. But as of now, the Eastern Conference games or teams 1 through 10 are separated by 6 games. Teams in the play-in tournament, 7 through 10, are only separated by 1 game and a half. Compared it to the Western Conference, teams 1 through 10 are separated by 10 games. In the play-in tournament, teams 7 through 10 are only separated by 4.5 games. So we know the better teams are in the Western Conference, at least on paper. But it's a tighter race in the Eastern Conference. So we'll see what the Bulls can do. I didn't have them necessarily being 5 or 6, but we will see. Finally, I will be at that Pelicans game on Monday. Zion just came back like a game or so ago. I'm looking forward to that. And as you know, the Bulls only come here to New Orleans once a year. So last season I called in right after the game and we had a victory. No, we had a terrible loss. And this year I'll do the same call in after the game. Hopefully it's a Bulls win. I root for the Pelicans except for when they play the Bulls, being from Chicago. But I'll call in after the game with my observations. So thank you, Brother Haize, for having a platform where we don't always have to leave a voicemail. We can text, email, just to be a part of the show. You also had a chat. And thank you, Brother Haize, for having the best Bulls content on the planet. Go Bulls, see red.
Man, I haven't thought about the winning outro, honestly, all season long. I think with me moving on, I moved on to a different streaming software. I just didn't bring it over. I didn't bring over the C Red outro. So I may have to reincorporate that back. Good point there, Los. I love when you guys. I honestly had not thought about it all season. But a lot of the Vuch trade scenarios are one sided, and like you said, I do think teams have to, or people who put these together have to also think about what the other team. And don't convince yourself if you were starting off creating a trade. Well, they're trading such and such, so they're selling them for cheap. That rarely happens in the NBA, especially when you're talking about $60 million contracts in the case of like Anthony Davis, right? But I think fan-made trade scenarios are usually always inherently one-sided. That's why, if you notice, I don't come up with it. I'll report on what some other trade scenarios that have been reported or talked about and give my thoughts on them, but you won't just see an episode where I'm just like, let's come up with trade scenarios for X player, because I ain't got time. The person that's best at that is Vaughn. Vaughn, who I will call out sometimes, but hey, Vaughn, cook up a trade scenario for this because he's really good at looking at the balance of things, has a really good idea of the salary cap structure and all that type of thing. So Vaughn's my go-to guy when it comes to that. But as far as you going to see the games, when they face off against the Pelicans, I hope that you get a good game. I hope you get to see a Bulls win in person, brother. I hope so. So I'll be looking forward to hearing from you after the game. Thank you, Los, man. Let's get into this next one. This one's from Darius.
What's going on, guys? Darius from Dallas, man. Just got done watching the Wizards game, and boy, was that an ugly fucking win. That's a 1-14 team. I guess a win is a win. For the positives, I think Vuch played pretty well. Josh Giddey with a triple-double. Oh, my. Yeah, man, I think we definitely got ourselves a solid point guard for sure in him. I don't know what we're missing with the starting lineup. I don't know what it is, but it seems like the bench has to bail us out every single game. And I don't know why we can't get that spark. I thought Coby coming back would kind of give that to us a little bit. That's not to say that he's playing bad, but it just seems like the bench plays harder. I mean, y'all tell me if I'm wrong. Maybe I'm just seeing shit, but it seems like the bench is just playing harder. And I just wish that the starters played with a little bit more of that fire, and I think that's contributing to why we keep starting these games off down. Like, why are we starting off every single game? Why we got to have a 15-point deficit or more to start the half every single game? And then the bench has to come in and go on a 10-0 run to get us back in it. Why we got to keep doing that? I'm happy with the win. I'm not gonna complain about a win. I just feel like the starters have to step up. The starters have to be better than what they've been. Bench is doing an awesome job. These guys are, regardless of what their stats say, these guys coming off the bench are playing their freaking hearts out, man. And you can see it. As far as the starters, with the exception of Josh Giddey and Vuch, I think everybody else was just kind of non-existent tonight. Coby was pretty good offensively. He had a couple turnovers that were kind of questionable to me. I just don't see the same fire and passion, man. But it could just be me. Y'all tell me if I'm wrong, but I feel like our bench played a hell of a lot better than our starters tonight. Let me know what you think. Bear down.
I mean, yeah, the Bulls bench seems to just have more of the right? More of that kind of edge that sometimes the starters are lacking. And I think that that's evident at times. Now, you can use that to your benefit because the bench can come in and change the direction of a game. Or if the direction is going well, they can come in and keep up that energy. I also think we're going to have a bench that's going to be a nice mix of offense and defense. I think we're going to have, when you look at Trey and P. Will as defensive pieces, Io as a two-way piece, right? Jalen Smith starting to show himself to be a two-way piece for this team. And you're getting Zach Collins back also. Like, yeah, you have that. And then you got the young guns and the Dalen Terrys and the Julian Phillips, right, that, come in and provide some energy. This bench unit has the chance to be really, really good this season, and we've already seen it. Now, as far as them continue to outplay the starters, I mean, here's the thing. I think that we are clearly a team that's built off in the starting lineup of connectivity. And I think that got thrown off a little bit with Josh. And then when you see when Josh is dealing with an injury, he's kind of off. It throws things off. We didn't have Trey out there for a while, who was that second connected piece. But I hope that they're able to rediscover that edge they had at the start of the season, because that's the team that I'd be willing to bet does make the playoffs if you can rediscover that. All right, let's get into this next voicemail, man. This one is from Caden.
What up, Haize, man? It's your boy Caden again, bro. Thank you for everything you do. I like to start all of my voicemails off with that. Man, NBA Central is dope, too. So if y'all ain't seen NBA Central, like, it's just as good as Bull Central. Go see that. But I got a meathead kind of rant. I don't know if I want to call it a rant, but it's a meathead kind of rant. Is it time to start talking about Kobe as the star that he kind of is already, and like stop talking about it as a what if? Because in his 2 games, he has obviously shown that this Bulls team is a completely different team with him on the court. First off, he's closing games. That Portland game, we don't even get Vuch that shot without Kobe. We don't even get in that position without Kobe hitting that go-ahead 3 the previous possession down the court. And sure, he had that turnover, but looking back at that turnover, it was a foul. That was a foul. They didn't call it. So that being said, like, is it time to start talking about Kobe and his gravity and, you know, kind of what he brings to the table with his ability to ISO and, you know, go get a bucket? Is it time to talk about him being the star that everybody is looking for, that everybody needs? Because you don't always need a quote-unquote superstar like an Anthony Edwards, a KD, LeBron, one of those guys, but you definitely need a star. And I definitely put Kobe in, you know, that conversation for a star, a finisher. And so it's just every other team gets some leeway, and this is no excuse for that bullshit that happened with Miami. But everyone gets some leeway when their star is down, where they're like, oh, well, such and such was out. How come the Bulls don't get that same leeway in being, as it currently stands, as I'm sending this voicemail, above 500 and not having their star except for 2 games out of the season, right? I think why I'm in this mode is because I want the narrative to start changing around what is what. And for as good as Giddey has been, this team is just different with Coby White. Like, it's different, bro. And I just wanted to know your thoughts on that. I wanted to know, you know, Bulls fans' thoughts on that. And, you know, sorry for running long on the voicemail, but yeah, bro. Let me know what you think. Thanks for it. And I'm there.
Kobe's in a great position this season to prove what he can be on a team that is trying to win basketball games. Is hopefully going to be in a lot of basketball games as this season goes on. He's in a prime position for that. He has a pending unrestricted free agency. He's looking for money from the team. I say this. To me, I want to see Coby White average 25, 5, and 5. I think that that's typically the mark of that player that's right there at the cusp, at least, of stardom. And, you know, you're going to have people that argue, is he a star or not? But that gets you there. Josh Giddey's getting there. If you have 2 guys that emerge in that, that's great to see. And we'll see what that means for his pending free agency, because that's going to play a huge part in all of this as well. So we'll see where it's going to end up, brother. I hope that Coby White proves, and I have all the faith in the world of Coby White. So let's see what he ends up doing, Caden. All right, let's get into this next one, man. This one's from Josh.
Yo, Haize. What up, Haize? What up, Chicago Bulls Central? It's Josh out in Arizona. Calling today because first off, I wanted to talk about Isaac Okoro. Heard your episode today talking about how we might want to think on replacing him at the starting spot, starting 4 or 3, whatever. And I wanted to call and try and put in a ticket for Patrick Williams. I know a lot of people are saying, keep Patrick Williams on the bench and whatnot. And I can understand that point. He basically produces the same numbers on or off the bench regardless, you feel me? He's like damn near the same player. However, in this season with the added aggression, consistent aggression that we have been seeing from Patrick Williams, I think between him and Isaac Okoro, and even him and like Kevin Huerter, I think he's a better option just for the fact that I'm pretty sure he's shooting at a more consistent rate than Kevin Huerter. And on the defensive end, I think he's just as good defensively, so to speak, as Isaac Okoro. So you're getting both a decent amount of offense or the ability to shoot those corner threes and make them. You feel me? With Patrick Williams, unlike Kevin Huerter, who I think he could still come up, but then also defensively, I think he can hold his own, just like Isaac Okoro, if not better, because he's a much bigger, stronger body to hang with those big boys. Like, I feel like he would have done a better job on marketing if we had him on marketing the whole game rather than Isaac Okoro. Or he would have done a better job on Jokic if we had him on Jokic, half the game rather than fucking Vuch. But tell me what you think. I will go.
Starting P. Will over Isaac Okoro, that's going to be a question that a lot of people ask. And listen, I get both sides of it. I get the side of people that are like, well, yeah, P. Will's, he's outplaying Isaac Okoro, so start him. I also get the camp that's like, well, he's found his groove on the bench. He's more impactful off the bench. Let's not move. And I think that for what it's worth, it seems like Billy Donovan is in the latter half of that also, to where he also feels like, hey, let's not mess with P. Will. You look at all the injuries we've had and players that we've started, he keeps P. Will on the bench. And I think that's because at this point, the expectations are lower for P. Will there. And I think also, like, if P. Will's finally found his thing that works for him consistently, why change it now? Let him stay in that, right? But like I said, I completely understand the people that are like, hey, looking at Okoro's numbers, man, shouldn't P. Will or Io start? I completely understand those people. And so I'm not necessarily against them. I'm just more so saying what it seems like Billy Donovan's thought process is on that. And I guess we'll see if that changes as the season goes on. All right, let's get into the last voicemail for today, man. This one is from my auntie, Goon.
Hey, nephew, Haize, I had to come back to you. You said I ain't been here in a long time, but, your auntie had to come at you. I don't know, nephew. I do not know. These games, I don't know. The boys going to have to do better. I don't give a fuck about Vuch having 28 points. We need to get rid of his bitch ass. He's the bitch. We need to get rid of him. Look, the Bulls with these slow starts, I ain't gonna lie, I think Billy should change up the starting lineup. Because our bench, we cool. This starting lineup got to get changed. It's been slow. I don't know. Maybe I'm tweaking. Then Vuch coming at the Bulls talking about we ain't doing this. We ain't capable of doing this. We ain't capable of doing that. Who the fuck is you to say some shit? You the reason why we slow, motherfucker. You can't keep up to our standards. You the reason every time the Bulls go on the run, we up 16, 19 points. As soon as Billy put that first five back in, the other team come back up. I don't know. Maybe I'm tweaking. Maybe it's the Don. I don't know. Maybe it's the weed. I don't know. But for what Bruce said today, that was some bullshit. That was some bogus ass shit. I don't give a fuck what y'all got going on, bro. You never go to the media with that shit. Whatever y'all got going on, y'all should talk about that shit in the locker room, motherfuckers. Why are you telling motherfucker Casey Johnson this and that? Oh, we ain't got the players to go to the standards. Or we ain't got the players for this. Or we ain't got the players for that. Nigga, you the reason. Don't get it fucked up. And then a lot of players been hurt. A lot of motherfuckers started to come back. But you the reason, motherfucker. How you gonna try to throw the boys under the bus like that, Vuch? Your ass, both of your ass out of order on Folksman on Larry. Your ass out of order, gang. You are like, okay, you got 28 points today. You are like you've been doing some extra shit. You are like you've been doing ever since we was 6-1, motherfucker, your ass done failed. Let's keep this shit 100. Let's keep this shit on the table, nigga. Don't do that, Bruce. For real, don't do that. Shit happens. We win games, we lose games. Don't ever put your team on the bus like that, talking about, oh, we ain't got the potential, or we ain't got the players for the potential, or we not up to standards. Don't do that. The fuck wrong with you? You one of the reasons. If Billy stopped pouring you in with clutch time and put Jalen Smith in, we should have won a good couple games. Billy took Smith out when he was hot, when we needed him. Your ass was ice motherfucking cold. And Billy still put you in for the last 3-2, for the last.
Listen, your issues with the starting lineup are there, right? I get it. I 100% understand you there. I think that, we've only had one game of Coby White starting, so let's see if that starts fixing some of the issues that we've had there, right? And you aren't the only person to take issue with Vuch's comments. I didn't start off talking a lot about it because I talked about it at the start of the show, but you are not alone. There have been a lot of people that have reached out, either texted me or asked me on Twitter in regards to Vuch's comments and, how I feel about it. I just look at it as this. It's a veteran saying the right things. Like, what he said wasn't wrong. And now you're right to say, okay, well, what's his accountability in us being in this place and getting us out of this place? And that's fair. And it's hopefully that, as much as he's putting things in the media by saying that, like you pointed out, let's hope that those conversations in the locker room is that he's taking accountability for his actions as well, at least with his teammates. Let's hope that that's the case. But that's my time. You guys can let me know how you feel on everything, as always, down below, man. Was Vuch right to call out the squad after a win? Or do you think, much like Goon, my auntie Goon, that he should have shut up and dealt with it in-house? We'll see with that one. I want to hear from you how you guys feel on that one. Make sure you guys are following us at Bull Central Pod. You can send us any feedback, questions, comments, concerns, bullcentralpod@gmail.com. And lastly, if you want to leave a text message and our voicemail for the mailbag, the number to do so, 773-270-2799. We are the #1 spot for everything Chicago Bulls related. And like I like to end every episode on, stay safe out there. Go Bulls, and always see red. Love you guys. Peace, y'all.
This has been a presentation of the Break Media.